Hey, welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Ermson. I am your host, and I'm very happy to say that today we have Doug Ashby that has joined the crew again. Yeah. I haven't scared you away yet, Doug.
I'm sorry?
I have not scared you away yet.
Oh, not yet. Not yet.
Well, that's very good. And Paul White of Education Crusade is here. Welcome.
Hello. Good
right here in the studio of LaRue Press. Woohoo!
Here.
We have such a good time, and I always love it when we have people come in. It's good to have people on the stream as well, but it's just different when you're live and in person. You know?
Yeah, there's just that more of a personal relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that probably some of the younger folks probably don't recognize the differences in that, I would guess. You know, that probably doesn't mean a lot to them because they're accustomed to texting and...
Oh, yeah.
And that's generational, and, we're of the generation that we like to see each other. So, heck, here we are. So if you are new to the What's the Story and LaRue Press, you're not going to know that every time I open my show, I like to share my screen and talk about, if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Yep, there it is. Okay. There we go. So we are looking at, no, we're not. Did I delete it? I did. Shame on me.
What'd you lose?
Oh, there it is. There it is. My Substack. There it is.
There you go.
So we want to talk about the picture that you're looking at here. Every week, I put up a picture that is... You guys are not seeing that on your screen, are you? That's very weird. I don't understand why not. Anyway... So we have a picture on the screen of, if you're listening, it's a document, and it's a document with some glasses laying over it, and it's a clue it's a clue to our word of the day. So every week we have a word of the day, and so I've started putting out pictures to kind of say, hey, can you guess what the word of the day is? Sometimes they're easy, sometimes not so much. This one's not too bad. What do you think, Doug? You know what the word is, so.
I do. I thought maybe a picture of the Mona Lisa or something would have been a little more.
It might have been a little easier to relate to, except that I figured they would get distracted with something like that. This is just a document, right, that maybe you're wondering, well, why would I put that up there? So, and the other thing is that, of course, I'd love for you to subscribe, hermson.substack.com. And every week I put this out to let you know what's going to be on the show. So if you scroll down here, you're going to see some facts about homeless in Northern Nevada. And that would be Mr. Paul White, who's going to share a lot of that with us. And, of course, I'm already subscribed, thank God. But if you're not, you should be. And that's easy. It's free. I have not opened up any paid subscriptions yet, but I'm looking into that. I want to do it, and I actually inquired with Grok to say, what would be a good thing to put out there. Grok is on Twitter, on X. You can go to Grok, it's AI, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. I was totally against AI and totally against doing any of this, and now I'm hooked. So, so I went on there.
A lot of neat things done with it.
Yeah, well, great for research. Shortcuts. I'm working on a business plan. Oh my goodness. Shortcuts that research, helps you do those calculations. I mean, you have to feed it all the data, but it's like having your own assistant that can, calculate things for you while you're doing other stuff. It's doing all the calculations, coming up with a scenario and saying, hey, here you go. It was awesome. It's awesome.
There's a downside to what you're talking about right there. Excuse me. Unfortunately, when you go to them, they might not have anything to say, but they do it in about 8 or 9 paragraphs. And it just drives me crazy because
Well, it depends on what you're researching, and it restates everything that you have said. So you have to kind of get through all of that because it's going to restate. Well, that's like me saying to you, well, if I understand you correctly, Doug, the reason that you're telling me this is because you're worried about the gobbledygook that they put in there, and right?
That would be fine. You could do that in 2 sentences, not 16 paragraphs.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I just get so tired.
I
I've heard that.
I know.
And what I do is I always flash back to middle of California with all these computer wizard people. Oh, we got to make this really look like we know what we're doing. And then they just put this
as I've said before, the AI thing to me is it's how you use it. And it's no different than ebooks versus print books. Ebooks are great. If I'm flying on a plane, I want an ebook. If I'm sitting at my desk, I want a real book. So just, it's how you use it. So, but I have found it a great tool for doing some of my research. And like I say, I'm working on this couple of plans. And so it's shortcutted a number of things for me.
Oh, no. Did you forget somebody today?
No, Ed?
Let's see.
You talking about Ed?
No, we didn't yet.
Okay, well, I'll talk about Ed. Ed's not here today. There you go. Short sentence.
No AI.
You didn't want me to be long, so.
How about this, Ed? Sorry, but you were yesterday's news.
It's true.
Out of sight,
we have
out of
Paul
eye.
here now. We don't need Ed, right?
I got you, Ed.
Just joking, Ed.
No, we're not.
So anyway, and in the second hour, I'm going to talk a little bit about audits. Do you know that there is a group of, they say they're nonpartisans that want an audit of the elections? What?
I did not know that.
That's true. You'll have to listen to the second hour so you find out about it. And then as I scroll down here, you're going to see our Freedom Series cups, which are also sitting on my table here. We're housing a little candy in there for Doug and Paul if he wants it, but I think he's trying to avoid it. He keeps eyeing it though. You see that?
Yeah.
See his eye on there?
At 4:01,
Awesome.
I'll inhale it.
There you go. There you go. All right. And then I also want to know always, what are you reading? Because we all have to read. I don't care if you're reading, I don't know, the label off of a jar. You need to read.
Well, that's why I spend so much time in the supermarket.
There you go. All right. And if you're looking for a good book to read, we have hundreds online and thousands in our store here in Reno. So check us out. We have a lot to offer, and we'd love to share it with you. So that's my big plug for the day. And now I really do want to get to talking with Paul White of Education Crusade about some facts about the homeless in Northern Nevada specifically. But Paul has dealt with homeless and other aspects of life for a long time. So, Paul, take it away and give us some background, and then we're going to talk about the event you're having coming up too.
Oh, I got interested in working with the homeless over 50 years ago in Detroit, Jan. And like most anybody else, first time you come in contact and you see somebody on the street looking down and out, or real down and out, and saying, "Oh, I'm hungry, I don't have any clothes." And so way back then, I was filling my car with flats of soup and gathering clothes and everything, and just kind of feeling like, good, this making a difference. And as years went by in that 50-year period, and Detroit and San Diego and Skid Row in LA and Tenderloin in San Francisco, and about an 8-year program called Stronghold Foundation that ran in Ventura, and then a couple of years here in Reno. I came to see that the homeless weren't getting any fewer on the street, and I could have filled a moving van with flats of soup. I think in fact, I saw a lot of flats of soup and clothes get thrown away by the people who received them, and I just realized if a doctor's going to try to cure you, he's got to diagnose what's wrong with you correctly, and if he misdiagnoses it, then the treatment he prescribes won't heal you. So I came to see over many years that the reason we're drowning in homelessness, it's taken down city after city, is we've misdiagnosed what the problem really is. And so the treatments we're prescribing, last year, LA, I think, spent $2.5 billion, and their homeless population just kept ticking up. So obviously we hear it's more money, obviously it's not. And we hear more resources, more community resources. Obviously it's not. We're swimming in them. So what is it? And that's kind of what I've come to be working on. And I've seen results with it over the years that validate that what I'm understanding about the real problem is true. And of course, there's countless programs you never hear about out there who follow this same line of diagnosis, who are getting results, but they're not the programs you hear about.
So here in Reno, you've actually been working with people that have been homeless, that have recovered, and
almost instantly.
So talk a little bit about that, because those are true success stories. Some of the things, and we can talk about this also, some of the things that you see coming from Washoe County as far as their homeless program is concerned, they make it appear as if people have been successful in becoming not homeless anymore. So let's do some compare and contrast.
Sure.
The folks that you're dealing with that are here in Reno, and then the ones that we've heard about from Washoe County.
Well, if you start with Reno's most recent incarnation of homeless program paid by the government is CARES Campus, and it's 4 years, and they probably have in a variety of programs, maybe 1,000 homeless in there, called homeless. We'll get to that. And their leading kind of celebrity spokesperson agreed with me a while back. No, they could not show you one legitimate success to about $200 million later, and unbelievable resources and buildings. No success in terms of just rated as someone who is fully employed, is living unsubsidized in housing, and is clean and sober and able to contribute to helping others. No, they can't show you one. So
Can I add something here?
Just
to throw it in here about this $200 million. I think you missed the point, because a politician, they solve problems by throwing money at it. So they threw $200 million at it, and they said, we solved the problem.
Right.
It's done.
Right.
They never go past that.
Absolutely. And you find that the programs that are effective usually fund on a shoestring for a portion of what they do. But a few years ago, Jan, there was a lot of talk in Reno about, the homeless thing is so terrible, it's so hopeless. And so I made an offer. It was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. There was about 30 days. So I offered the city council and the mayor, and I said, you can send me as many as you want of people who they've done everything they can do and they just can't get their life going, can't get off the street. And I said, you can send me as many of those as you want. And if they'll simply be clean and sober and willing to work, I'll have them employed and housed in 72 hours or less. Send me as many as you want. What an offer. Well, they didn't send me one. So I had to go out on the street during that 30 days, and I combed around a little bit, and I found 2 individuals. And one of them was a guy from New York City, just lifelong alcoholic, drunk. And nothing was working. He was laying literally in the dirt in an area of the old homeless area on 2nd and Record, or 4th and Record.
Right, 4th. Yeah.
Called the Pit. And I went up to him, how you doing? And I said, I could get you out of this. You got to be willing to do a few simple things. He said, I'll do anything. So he stopped drinking, and we got him a job, and practically within 24 hours. And then he had he was sobered up, so like a friend was letting him stay at a place a little bit. Well, anyhow, he immediately had a few days in a warehouse, and he got a job landscaping at GSR, the casino. And then this was all within a matter of actually weeks, found a deal where he could get his commercial trucking driver's license for free. That exists still in town, by the way, for anybody
interested
wants to do that. Yep. And then he met another lady he'd known there just hanging around doing nothing, homeless. And she saw him starting to get going. She said, well, I'd like to too. And problem, she was pregnant with another guy's baby who was no longer anywhere around. So long story short, this guy ends up within a matter of a few months. They got to have a relationship. He said, I want to marry you and I'll take care of the baby too. Doesn't matter to me. I'll just love it. And they moved back to where her family was in the Midwest. And I heard from him pretty steadily over the next couple of years. And he was driving for different companies, and they had the baby. And this one had gone his whole life. He'd been living in subsidized homeless things for forever. Then the other one was a woman called me from the homeless shelter, almost 70 years old, and she said, I don't use drugs or alcohol, and I like to work, but they tell me in here, no, don't get a job. We're working on getting you a bunch of government things where you can just get paid to stay home. She said, I don't want to do that. I want to work. And she was from the East Coast.
Could you confirm that people are actually telling? I mean, I'm not saying she's lying, and I'm not even implying that. But because everybody says, oh, that's just one person that did that. Is that like a standard that? Oh no, that's what when they want to tell you about all the counselors they have in government-funded programs, that's pretty much what they're funded for, to help you connect with every possible subsidy and it discourages you from just, you remember Pinocchio's famous line, right? I want to be a real boy. And the government and the people hired by him discourage people from being real boys, real men and women. So she came over to our place we were running there in Reno, Stronghold, and got some basic info from her and called an employment place. They said, sure, warehouse out there instead she could start tomorrow. And I think if the shift started at 8, she had to grab the bus at like 6 and then walk a ways. And she said, oh, no problem. She says, I'm so happy to be working. And the shelter said, well, she'd extend what do you call it? Used up or stay time or something. Okay. Yeah, they're only allowed to stay a certain period of time.
So, yeah, they've since gotten rid of that. And
now they can stay forever.
So she said, well, that would help. And just within a few days, they loved her, great attitude, great worker at the warehouse. She met a young woman who they became friends. Woman said, well, here, why while you're putting your money together to get your own place, I've got room in my apartment. You can stay here. And so she did that. And then the last that I heard from her, which was within less than a year, she'd rented her own apartment, one of the ones out there, and was loving it. And this is just, I could go on and on. But this is just an example. And where this other place, the CARES campus here in town.
So have you, I have to ask, have you had an audience with any of the people involved with homelessness that could do something similar to what you have suggested?
Oh, every one of them, and multiple times, everything from police chiefs to mayors to commissioners.
And they've heard your stories.
They've heard them all, and they've heard the facts about how bad it is here. But
right.
If you look at it,
so what is their answer to, we're only increasing homeless, at least that's what you're implying here, and not decreasing. So what is their answer to you as to why would we not want to do that? It's all usually about the money. So is it about the money?
yeah, you remember that movie or some Follow the Money?
Yeah.
And well, what the main problem with our homeless approach is, if you start at the beginning, it's wrong funding. Now, the big funding money comes from the federal government for what they call low barrier. Well, the good news is they'll give you millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. The bad news is, back about 40 years ago, a New York psychologist who had never done anything with homeless personally said he was having because shelters used to tell people you got to be clean and sober to come in. That's how they've always worked and helped people.
Makes sense.
Well, they couldn't find anybody that was clean and sober that was willing to come in. Any rules? So they said, the psychologist said, a guy in New York, and he's easily to find, his name escapes me, but he said, they're just too traumatized by being on the street. So we're going to let them come in with no requirements, low barrier. Come in, and today that means you can use all the drugs and alcohol you want, and they do here in town over there. They just don't let them, and would they sit there and
Finish your sentence. They just don't let them.
Yeah, it's not like they let them inject heroin in front of everybody, but you can just go out, walk 100 feet on the sidewalk, go inject all the heroin you want, and then come back inside.
Wow.
And they do drink all the time in there. And so it's funded wrong, because this money doesn't make you force them to be the very four things pretty much that would help them. And that is, they can't make them be clean and sober. They can't make them work. They can't make them have socially acceptable behavior. And they can't work with them in any way to try to teach or require any kind of anything, moral, spiritual values, anything from Bible teaching to whatever. And they say, no, we don't do any of those. So they get the money and they can't do any of those. Oh, they build massive buildings and they have all this. But the people are destroying themselves, because those are the things that keep you down if you don't do them. Meanwhile, all the little programs, gospel missions, victory outreaches, generic ones, they say, well, of course you got to have those four things in place. They can't use, they have to work, they have to behave appropriately, and we've got to help teach them, give them a values, a spiritual values, moral values foundation to their lives. And these programs crank out successes constantly. So, yeah, wrong funding is one thing. And then
It looks like Doug might have a question here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
You know what? I do, because I hear, to me, from what I hear you say, there's a common denominator. Each one of these programs is that this is what I'm going to do for you, Paul.
Okay.
This, and the federal government has money, and this is what we're going to. There is no personal accountability.
Zero.
What is it that you want to do? What are you going to take responsibility for? Because if you take responsibility for any of this, we'll start working on that. We might have some success there.
Well, with the federal money, they can't do it. but they see all this money and they say, well, surely, so we can buy counselors, we can buy big buildings, we can give them all the food, we can give them, well, what do? They sell the clothes, they throw the food all over, they destroy the buildings. I think in the first year with this mega $1 million 700-man tent that they have, I believe at the end of the year it took $1 million of repairs to fix what had been destroyed. They don't clean up after themselves. They go in these state-of-the-art showers, laundries, bathrooms, and they destroy them 7 days a week. And so the county pays cleaners to come in. They don't make the people clean them. Now, in a good private program, sure. But so wrong funding. Government funding, you can't do anything. Private funding, the right funding, you can have the rules at work. So if you get the wrong funding, then you're going to have the wrong program, right? You're not going to be able to present what works. When they're funding privately, they can have the right program. They can require things. When you have the wrong program and funding, you have wrong leadership. People who are willing to work and see it fail. Whereas the private ones get it, and it goes from there.
You know, Paul, this is the very first thing that I wrote down. Define the problem is what you said. That's what they're lacking. What they
Right.
do, see, the next thing to me, once you define the problem, you have to put time parameters on it. If there are no time parameters on it, it becomes a dream.
Right.
It's just open-ended. So it goes right back here. Unless they have personal responsibility to find the problem correctly, put a time limit on it, they are not going to go forward and have success.
Right, and then it goes back to that earlier thought. You've got to diagnose it properly.
Exactly.
And what we've got is, and the phrase is homeless. And you look up the definition, it just means a person with no permanent place to live. Well, those places are available everywhere. Out of 100 people here in Reno or anywhere who we say they're homeless because they're on the street and they're short on money and things not working, they're not homeless. Now, the other definition, they're not homeless, they're vagrant. And the definition of a vagrant is someone who just bounces around from place to place, doesn't work a legitimate job, exists by begging, stealing, robbing. 9 out of every 10 on the street are vagrants by choice. 10 out of 100, if that, closer to 5, are what I call legitimately homeless, which means they'd say, I will do the things that are required for me to get my life back. I'll get sober, I'll work, etc. And so
what does the I have to ask this question. It's probably not I don't know if it's a good question or not. What is the barrier to the people that are running it now from requiring certain things? So, okay, they're not sober. Whatever. Great. Go get a job. What is the barrier to them requiring them to get a job or requiring them to, you're saying that they were limited in how many days they could stay at a place. Now that's got
there's
moot.
nothing. Yeah. They stay forever.
Yeah. So, but what's the barrier to these folks who are supposed to be in charge of creating some, quote, rules? We all live by rules, right? We have homes and we create rules. They aren't laws. They're not something, but if you're going to be in my house, these are the rules, right?
Well, the
What's the-
extension to what you're saying is there a downside if you don't do what you're just talking about?
Right.
You know, these
so
people that
so
put it
share
together-
with us.
Well, there is. Let's say the three of us are going to set up a homeless program. We say we've got a great idea for what would work, and the first question would come up would be, how are we going to fund this? Where's the money going to come from? And the government says, gosh, we'd love to fund it. In fact, we'll fund it beyond your wildest dreams. And show us what your program is. And we say, well, they're going to have to be clean and sober. Remember that psychologist in New York City? No. If you just bring them in off the street, they'll just like osmosis or something, they'll just want to be clean and sober. They'll just want to be employed. Well, it's never been proven. So to answer your question, what keeps them from doing it is Washoe County could say, to notify their grant people, yeah, we're going to do it different. We're going to require a job, for example, or you can't be in the program. And Washington say, well, we wish you well, but we're going to have to cut your funding off. You don't get any money. You can't get this money. All these programs that work, you've seen, for instance, Gospel Mission. Their trucks are running around all over the place, picking up. They run a handful of thrift shops. One way they make money. They've had success over the years, so people donate to them just like you would to a church. But that's how they get by. They don't hire anybody to clean up after the guys. The guys clean up after themselves, and so on. And so they're not spending $1 million repairing anything because you're not going to break anything. You're going to get out of the program. So this, sad to say, is exactly why nobody will change, because we are employing hundreds of people, hundreds and hundreds of people in this, and we wouldn't get any federal money to do that if they changed. Now, the trade-off would be we would actually save lives and be doing what we are supposed to be doing. So the choice is between having opulent piles of money that they build huge, beautiful, worthless buildings and let them be destroyed, and we can hire a ton of people and no people on the street get helped, or we can really and now they've got over 1,000 people there. If they were to tell the people tonight in the tent, and remember, it's 9 out of 10 vagrants who are making meth, stealing bikes and tools, robbing people, doing everything. That's how they're making their money. And then they've got a nice place to stay, don't have to change a thing about what they're doing, hide behind saying, oh, I'm homeless. Now you tell them, hey, good news. You can't go out 24/7 in and out. You're going to stay in this building. You're going to be in classes. You're going to help clean this place. You're going to do this. Well, out of that 1,000 people say they've gotten CARES Campus, it'd go down to about 200 or less within days. And you know something? That's the ultimate answer to communities' homeless problems. Remember, a vagrant, one of their number one definitions is somebody just bounces around place to place. They'd be doing that. They'd say, can't get my dope. The cops are actually going to arrest me if I do something wrong. Hey, I heard San Jose has a soft place. They would self-deport. And the people who would be behind would get help at a wonderful high rate, and it would not take tons of money. But that's what they've got to be willing to do, make a radical, drastic change.
So let's share with the audience the event that you're going to have here coming up. Talk to everyone about this.
Yeah, we'd love to have you join us. It'll be Thursday evening, the 20th, from about 7 to 8 p.m. at the National Auto Museum in downtown Reno. And essentially what it's going to be is all these things I've just told you. Now, I read all local periodicals pretty closely. I'm trying to think of one thing I've read since I came to town years ago that has exposed what I just exposed with the two of you. I can't tell a story. I can't see anything of the Gazette Journal or This is Reno. Once in a while we'll say it, but they won't get to the basic issue, which is, well, what do we do with all the homeless? Well, with that 5 or 10% that really want to do something, and however many more we add, we've got great programs. For the ones who say, I don't want to do anything. I'm just kind of down and out and sick from so much drugs, and I look like heck, and all my teeth are gone and everything else. And the community says, they say to the community, well, you need to help me. And the community says, well, you need to be willing to follow the rules and work and sober up. No, I'm not, but I want you to help me. Well, it's like saying, I want to go home to South Reno after
Well,
this, but I want to drive north.
Any parent has faced this kind of thing in some level, right? I
Yep.
mean, maybe not in
You
that
know-
to that severe, but we've all had kids that have been unreasonable about their
Sure.
demands. And they make demands,
And you
right?
take your stand.
You do, yeah, and you make a decision. Am I going to be the parent? Am I going to be the friend? Am I going to be the, fill in the blank? But the parent is the best role.
I have a quick story that probably fits here. I don't know if we'd want to adopt it, but it's a true story. I have a very wealthy friend of mine. He married a lady from China, and she came from a very, very wealthy family in China. Well, they're honeymooning over in Hawaii, and they're up to the 10th, 12th floor or something. And she walks over to the window. Excuse me, she looks down, and in the bushes, there's a bunch of homeless people. And she asks her husband, "What are those people? What in the bushes?" And he says, "Oh dear, those are homeless people." And she looks at him and she says, "Why don't they kill them?"
Oh, oh,
Well, see,
Definitely have a
scary.
solution.
we'll see the sad part.
And she meant it.
Sure.
She
Well,
meant
did.
it.
and you know what it's comparable to? It's comparable to, I had, as a teacher, I had so many parents, sadly, over the years tell me, come in and say, if their child's really out of control at any age, and they'd say, I feel guilty even admitting this, but I don't even like them.
Oh,
I don't even like them. They're hateful. They're horrible. They've threatened me. They ruin the house. They're ruining us financially. Well, this is just it. It's compassion, except it's not compassion. It's pity fatigue. They've got to realize, okay, so someone, say, comes to town, gets off the bus in Reno. They don't have anything. And if Reno wants to really benefit everybody, save the community, offer this person to save them, then what they do is say, well, we can help you. We've got, depending on your resources, we've got 27 food pantries, any one of which every week can give you more food than you could eat. And here, the federal government provides you free, what they call Obama phones, for no cost, unlimited usage. Here is the federal
I
government.
need to go get an Obama phone.
And don't worry, throw them away, sell them. Just wait a few weeks and go get another one.
That's what I need. My phone is messing up here. I'm trying to fix it.
And then not only will we have the food pantries, but the federal government says, here, I'll give you $300 a month for food on food stamps. Well, and downtown will say, well, no problem. We feed 5 hot meals a day where you can go get free hot meals. So wait a minute, you mean so I don't need that $300 in the food stamps? Well, I tell you what I'll do. I'll sell half of them, which is a federal offense. I'll sell half of them, or I'll sell them for half. So sometimes I'll sell them all for $150, or I'll sell a part of them. And then I'll eat there. And then what do I do with the money I got? Well, now I've got some money to gamble or buy it. But let's go back. That guy gets off at the bus station and you say, you can eat. We've got a beautiful, clean shelter where you can stay. You got to be clean and sober and behave, or we don't let you in there, and you got to help clean the place. He says, well, okay, I'll do that. And you got to take some classes. Okay. Now he comes and he starts going with that program. Why, in no time at all, he'll be working, have money in the bank, and doing well. If he says, what you always hear, too many rules. I like living outdoors.
Go back to that child reference again.
Right. I like living outdoors. That's when the police step up and say, well, it's fine for you to live outside if you've got a place where it's legal to do that. In somebody's doorway, or urinating on the walls of the library in that alcove downtown, which they do, or out on somebody's property trespassing. That won't work. And if we find you there, you're going to get ticketed the first time, arrested, and taken in the second time. And so all of a sudden he realizes, I can go in the program and get the help I really need, or I can go out here and try to go rogue on the outside, camp on the river and throw my sewage in there and get arrested and go to jail. Or, again, I hear San Jose isn't quite as strict about this.
Right.
This
So-
is what they need to do and solve it like this.
So you have, and I believe that, isn't it Grant that runs the homeless program here?
Grant Denton is a subcontractor. He came up with it's very cute in a Winnie the Pooh way idea for what he called Karma Box. But the thing is, it got taken out of context. It's to where they put up these little boxes around town.
I've
put
seen them,
a bar
yeah.
of soap or a tube of
Right, right.
toothpaste and says, take what you need, give what you can. Now, Grant,
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go
That's why I wanted to give a little background on who he is. But I also want to ask, he was a homeless person. He was a person that's gone to jail. He's got all the good history that or bad history, whichever way you want to look at it. But it
Experience,
gives
yeah.
him the experience to understand the problem. Now, when I know that you have talked to Grant a number of times, and in that conversation, if you presented him with this scenario of, X, Y, or Z, and
I
how,
did.
and you did, yes, then what is his response to that? Because he has the power to do something about this.
well, it was real simple. And again, his own weakness is it's hardly his alone. And I said, Grant, if when you had been living on the streets in Vegas for 6 or 8 years and were a hardcore drug addict, and he tells this story publicly,
Yeah, he has.
and had come across, and we're going to jail all the time. I said, and you had come across a program like this that would give you everything with no requirement. You could use all you wanted. You didn't have to work. And you could stay here as long as you wanted to have everything. I said, how would this program that you help run, how would that have worked for you? And his words were, quote, I would be dead or in prison. And I said, knowing that, and knowing that you run programs where there is because it's federally funded, no requirement, you can't force them not to use. I said, how do you justify promoting that, working that, being on the cover of the front page of the Wall Street Journal and doing a TED Talk, telling people how great it is? I said, how do you justify that when you know it does not work and never has? And he said, well, have you got a job you can hire me for? Pay me? He said, they pay me pretty well. And the thing is, anybody who has ever, the phrase hoard themselves, but you know what they mean by that, simply done something, working at something where you knew it wasn't your highest sense of principle and right, and yet the money was pretty tempting. Most people I know have been there at some point, and this is just why. Why is the county doing it? Well, because Manager Brown, for example, with the county, why is he hiding what's going on and lying, just blatantly lying about what's going on in the county cares program? Why is he not letting people visit?
He did say at a meeting recently that he was going to allow them to visit.
Well, what they mean is we are going to.
Or were they setting it up ahead of time?
Oh my goodness!
Okay.
Yes, yeah. You can only see.
This isn't spontaneous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not. Well, it's
okay.
just not legitimate. Well, let's see.
This is like going to your school teacher, and the school teacher knows 3 weeks in advance you're going to be there on the Tuesday at 2:00, and
Right.
so we dress it up and make it look pretty.
And you tell the kids if you're
Yeah.
all good, we get an extra recess.
ice cream.
Now, Manager Brown can either say, this is terrible, I need to tell the community how horrible this is, or he can cover it, and he probably sits there talking with his wife and says, well, this $450,000 a year package they're paying me, if I tell them I'm not getting the job done, we might have to downsize a little bit. And this is exactly why it goes on. Why does it go? Why don't the commissioners
I
say
guess
that?
my question would be, how do the folks live with themselves? Because that's
easier than they should.
Yeah, I would say so.
The
I would say
the
so.
purpose of our doing these things. Well, and that's why no program works with homeless or anybody that doesn't have moral, spiritual value.
So what is your expectation? I've left this notification on the screen so anybody who pops in will see when and
you.
where and all of that. So I just want to make sure everybody knows I didn't forget. I know it's there.
Well-
I want it to be there because I want you to attend. And I'm curious to know what is your expectation, Paul, for you have a list of folks, if I remember correctly on this, you have a list of people that
all the
you
people
would,
who are responsible
right
for
there.
it? Yeah.
RPD, Police Chief Catherine Nance, Washoe County Sheriff Darren Balaam, Homeless Court Judge Chris Stevens, Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks, Karma Box Safe Camp founder Grant Denton, Reno Mayor Hillary Sheevy, Washoe County Manager Eric Brown, we were just talking about him, Reno City Council members, Washoe County Commissioners. Have you sent these invitations to these folks? Washoe County Library Director Jeff Scott, Washoe County Media Communications Manager Bethany Drysdale, and it's so funny as I read through this list because I'm thinking so many of these people that I've tried to talk to and nobody will talk to me.
No.
Volunteers of America Regional Vice President Travis Sandifer. That's
Now, he's
one I'm not.
He's
I'm
an
not
interesting
familiar
one.
with.
He's listed on their website as their top administrator for the VOA multi-million-dollar contract here in town, and I met him in a couple places, and I went up to introduce myself, talk to him. I was telling him about all that's going on in the tent, the horrendous stuff, violence and theft, and
Well, even Grant thought that some of that wasn't happening.
oh yeah, and he couldn't be. It couldn't be telling a bigger lie.
Well,
there-
but to be fair, he
23
did
people
say that.
Oh, he did, but he was
Yeah.
very, very willing to lie about it. He knows off the record. He'd tell me. And I went up to the person who's running the thing, and I said, this Travis, and I said, told him this, and I said, well, what do you think? And he goes, this is the guy in charge. Why, I've never heard any of those things going on there. I'll have to look into this. See, my information.
Okay.
My information comes from. Well, what's he doing in charge if he didn't know what's going on? My information comes from
So
the
he's
clients.
not going to show up, and none of these
None
other
of them.
folks are going to show up at this event. What are you going to do to make sure that they know how many people were there, how concerned the community is,
We're shooting,
and
we're shooting a good video that we'll be sharing and doing it, and then see what else we'll do.
well,
is,
I'm looking for a solution. That's
right.
truly
Well,
where I'm going.
Well, I
here.
mean, the we're going to tell what the solution is too. Well, let me just back up a sec. So with what's going to go on at the presentation is an explanation that it's not just the CARES campus. Then it's, again, if it's wrong funded, wrong program, we've got the wrong law enforcement. We'll explain what that means with the police, with the district attorney's office. In other words, the police can arrest all the people they want. And if the district attorney wants to have a high conviction rate for the next election, he's going to bargain all their clients who did attempted murder to minor assault or something like that. And so they're going to hear about what part the homeless court judge plays in extending this, what part the library plays in making just giving them access to 24/7.
and driving them to the library.
Pornography, absolutely. So they'll hear this, and then they'll hear the ultimate solution, and the solution is this, real quick. Number one, they cut the contract with Volunteers of America, who operates CARES Campus, a multi-million-dollar contract. They've been a total failure since they came to town. Step two, the commissioners deed over the CARES Campus property and everything that goes with it to a nonprofit coalition of local churches headed by a group just like a Gospel Mission or a Victory Outreach, somebody who's got decades of proof in doing this. The commissioners, through their lack of experience and their total indifference to what's going on, they've proven beyond question that they do not know how to run a homeless program. They got plenty of other potholes to fix and whatnot. So we've got that, and then so you organize it, you fund it privately, and then you've got the community lines up and says that we're going to either get our police chief enforcing the law and arresting the people who are breaking it, or we're going to get a new police chief. We're going to tell the sheriff, his quote is, Sheriff Balaam, unoriginal, you cannot arrest your way out of homelessness. I don't know, it's worked pretty good for murder, rape, kidnapping.
Yeah, some other things that have worked.
And so
I want to reiterate, Paul, because we got to wrap this up. So March 20th, 7 p.m., National Auto Museum, 1 Museum Drive in Reno. Paul White is the founder of Education Crusade. He will be presenting that evening, and I recommend that you attend. Is there any charge for attending? Okay, no charge to attend, so just go on and walk on in.
Please come in, and you'll hear a lot of things you haven't heard. You'll go away with a solution, and you'll know what part of it what can I do to help make that happen?
Will there be a petition, Berniger? Did you decide? No.
Yeah, we've...
Sorry to get that on the air, but
No. I think one lady with a group is coming. I think she's going to do that, but I'm ever so easy to find and contact, and if you... if there's a good restaurant in town, we find our way. If there's a good gym, if maybe before their house gets broken into, or they get assaulted downtown, or they lose all their emergency services because the homeless use half of them with 1%, maybe before that happens, they'll say, I need to get a little involved.
Perfect. All right. Well, we thank you very much for being with us today.
Well, thank you.
That takes care of our first hour, and we'll have Paul on again, I'm sure. So we're going to take a little break here. Don't go away. We'll be back in at roughly 4 o'clock. So hang in there, everybody. You will see the screen. I'm going to leave Paul's notice on the screen so that if anybody happens by, they'll see it, and hopefully they'll plan to attend. You'll see us. You won't hear us because I'm going to mute us right now. So we'll see you in a little bit.
Watch this. See?
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson. I'm your host, and I'm here with Doug Ashby. And we just had Paul White from Education Crusade. Almost forgot, spaced out on it a minute. Education Crusade, and he is doing a presentation at the National Auto Museum on March 20th, and that's why we wanted to have him on today, because if you're listening and you're in the Reno area, you should attend that. It's going to be at 7 o'clock. And check out what's going on with the homeless. It would be really nice if some of the folks that he's invited who are definite players in the game of homelessness, if they would attend and maybe share some of their thoughts and maybe why we're in the predicament we're in, and the fact that it looks like we're going to have a whole lot of more homeless on our streets if we don't do something effective soon. So I don't know. I don't know what you say about that, right, Doug?
Right.
You know?
Oh, wait a second. Did I hear you say, I don't know what to say?
Yeah, I did.
Sorry.
What can I tell you?
I'm like the president now. I don't have a quiet moment. If I think it, it's out there.
It's okay. I'm used to you now.
Yeah.
But I am going to, once again, in the first hour that we did, we had Paul on, and we did say that I did recommend to you that you go to my Substack, and I shared the picture and all that, which I'm doing again. And it's kind of funny because we started to talk about the word of the day, and we never got to it. So Doug and I are going to talk about the word of the day. So on the picture, if you're on the radio listening, it says, "Is this document real?" There's a picture of a document, just handwritten, kind of looks like old style stuff, like old fashioned handwriting, and some glasses on there. Who signed it and when? A clue to our word of the day.
That's the Urim and the Thummim there. That decodes it. If you're that's going into the Bible a little too deep,
bit too much. So what is our word of the day, Doug?
Provenance.
Provenance, not providence, provenance. And go ahead.
Provenance.
Yes. Well, just so if you're
of all
listening.
the words, there's some that I really like last week's. Oh my gosh, that had so many tangents you didn't know which way to go. This was really quite limited.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
There was a reason. Actually, Lenore shared that word. We were going through some of my dad's stuff. She had found this group of things in something she went from when she moved. And we have we have letters that he wrote to different football teams. My dad made copper moldings. In addition to being a printer, he also made copper moldings. And he would make sometimes it would be the logo for the team. Sometimes it would be the ball field, like for the Dodgers, he did a ball field. I don't remember exactly, and then he'd send him a letter and he'd send him the plaque, right? Copper molded plaque. Well, they'd write back. So we have this John Madden letter that thanked him for the plaque and told him that it was on Oakland, I think it's Oakland Raiders stationery, because it was when they were the Oakland Raiders. And and so we have that, and we have one from Dallas Cowboys. Stephanie Edwards. Who's Stephanie Edwards? She was somebody in LA, wasn't she? Do you remember the name? Or maybe a star?
Doesn't ring a bell.
At any rate, so we have one from her. So just different signatures. And we have the envelopes that show that they sent it back to him and when and all of that. So that's provenance, right? It's being able to track.
Absolutely, yes.
That's exactly, and so that's where the word came from, is what in our discussion she says, we have provenance.
Do you know, I this is the problem that I have with what you just said, because I've got a couple boxes that I have taken from house to house to house.
Of course.
And I look through it and I go, oh, this is really cool stuff.
Right. What do you do with it?
Exactly. Because
we
time
have a
moves
use
on.
for that. we can put it here in our shop. We're building a room here that's going to be genealogy, history, things like that. So we can do our own little history and have those up if we want to. You can look for people who collect signatures. I have a guy who walks in here, he collects business cards. He comes in and he picks up business cards. He just collects them, right? I mean, you don't know what's valuable to somebody else, right?
I've got a real short story about that very thing.
Go right ahead.
My mom's maiden name was Garner, Garner. Family lore had it. We were a couple times removed from John Nance Garner, Vice President of the United States. That's passed through the family like I can't remember how long. That's just any time our mom's maiden name would pop up, that folklore would go along with it. Well, I was talking with my cousin, and she had mentioned that. I go, oh, okay. Well, I'm on Ancestry, and what I did is when I followed my mom's lineage down, it only went a couple of people.
Right.
Nothing. I'll go the other way. I went over and looked at John Nance Garner. It went way back. And guess what? We weren't in there.
How funny.
I told my cousin that, and she said, I wish you wouldn't have shared that with me. So
That's
our
funny.
provenance really isn't.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just thought it was a great word though, because it's one that I could use in a sentence for once, right? And as far as definitions go, a record of ownership of a work of art or an antique used as a guide to authenticity or quality. And so because we can show the envelopes when the post office still postmarked an envelope, and we have those envelopes and we have the actual letters and they're all dated, and so you could prove that this was truly. Now I can't prove that that's a signature because maybe he used an auto pen.
No, Jen,
No, you did. You missed my joke. Maybe he used an auto pen.
There was not too long ago, I'd say within the last week, there was an article on the internet about how President Biden used his
The auto pen.
Yeah, he used the what do they call it?
Auto pen.
Yeah, exactly. And does it matter?
I don't know.
What? No, it wasn't.
Well, as far as President Biden, yes, it matters if he didn't know he was doing it.
Yeah, if he didn't know.
Yes,
but
that's where it matters.
Yeah.
It isn't about the auto pen. It's about the cognitive ability.
Well, in his case, he probably didn't know.
Yeah. Now, as far as I'd like to think that John Madden actually signed that. I'd like to think that.
You know what? I would think he did too.
And who was it? Dallas Cowboys. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Landry? Is Landry the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes.
Tom Landry? Yeah. So we have one of those.
Oh, really? That's a good one. He's one of the top NFL.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we've got a few. And, but my dad just liked to do that stuff. And I think he liked getting the letters back. And, it was just something that
look
he
at
enjoyed.
the other end of it when these coaches, when they receive something like that.
I would think that would be special to them.
I would too.
Yeah. I wish we had some pictures because they said that one of them said that they had it displayed. One said by their desk. Another one said in one of the offices or something that you might have seen, so it would have been nice to see that. I wish my dad, we didn't have digital cameras at the time or he would have taken pictures of them, I'm sure. We do, by the way, if you're in the Reno area, we do have a 20 mule team that my dad did in copper hanging in our entryway. So as you walk in the shop, it's right above our sign that says LaRue, and I'll bet Doug has never looked at it because he's looking at me right now, and I'm wondering if he's never really looked at that 20 mule team.
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's up there. You'll have to look at it when you walk out.
I'd love to.
Yeah. So and he sketched it himself. We actually have the sketch that he did. He had that all put together. And so he sketched it out. And my dad was legally blind, so it's kind of a story, right? He had to wear great big Coke bottle glasses, and I mean, he really couldn't see well. And so my mom was off in his eyes, and She was tough.
But see, this is one of the things that I want to do, and in my spare time, I probably will, is, bucket list stuff. It's nice to say, I did this, but I would like to sit down and make it a story. This is the reason that is in the bucket list, for all of perpetuity, all the people downstream. Because they aren't going to know anything,
Well, here's something my mom did before she passed. She had downsized dramatically. She lived in a large home in Bullhead City. When she moved here, she downsized. We also have my dad's, all his type and everything that he used on his machine. I mean, we got tons of stuff. So anyway, but so that was part of her downsizing. We ended up with it, right? So she went through, and before she passed, she went through her house and whatever was left, and she wrote down who had given her, like she had different, memento type stuff, pictures and things that she had hanging on the wall, and she had written down who gave those to her. So when the time came, I was able to look at them and go, oh, okay, that was Tanisha. Well, let me ask her if she wants it back. Right?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes people did, sometimes they didn't. It depended on the situation and why they had given it in the beginning. So, but it was kind of nice. And so I'm thinking that's on my bucket list, that as I downsize, I'm going to start writing down so my kids can know who to give it back to.
Well, I think that's awesome. With my dad, when he passed away, I went up and had to, and he was a saver. I had to go up and clean the house out, and his garage. When he retired, he was a very high executive with Pacific Telephone and Telegraph. When he retired, he put that stuff in boxes and it went into the garage. Well, my gosh, it sat there for 20 years. Those boxes never moved. Well, being a diligent son, I started opening them up and look at this. Meant nothing to me. There were actual pictures in there of crews that he had over the years. Well, what do you do with stuff like that? Those, you can feel the memory in it.
Oh.
But it went to the dump. Well, I had to. I couldn't save all of this stuff, and it just broke my heart to do it. Dad, forgive me.
What can you say? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that word, by the way,
yes,
its origin 1785.
Oh, yes, I didn't look that up.
Yeah, that goes back a long time. It says that's the history of ownership of a valued object or work of art or literature. So, yeah, you're right on with what you're doing with that. That's exactly the definition of it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have maybe some news to some folks. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm going to talk right now. I'm going to share a new tab. I didn't know, when I'm using StreamYard, I didn't know I could do that. It's telling me that I can stop sharing one tab and share this tab instead. So let's try it and see if it works. Woohoo, look at it does. It works. That made it really easy. So what you're looking at here is electiontruthalliance.org, a nonpartisan group. These are not conservatives. I'm going to tell you that for sure. They've made it clear from what they talk about and the shows that they're going on, they're not conservatives. And truly, in the last 4+ years, the only people who have talked about doing anything about election, quote, integrity or protecting elections primarily have been conservatives, right? Well, you can see on the screen, it says, Stay Informed, Smart Elections and the Election Truth Alliance, in-depth research showing the possibility of scale alteration of the 2024 election results. So they're saying, then they had on January 18th an event that talked about Nathan Taylor, talked about a hacked election. Huh? Will of the people or a hacked election? These are not conservatives, folks.
Well, let me tell you what I just heard as I was driving over here. President Trump has brought into his office a copy of the Constitution.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, is it, and that's more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Don't know.
That's more for show than probably anything else, but it does say that he is committed to the Constitution.
Yeah, and he can read it when he needs to.
Well, I think he tries very, very hard.
But let's talk about this voting stuff first.
Okay.
Let's
All
talk
right.
about vote manipulation rediscovered. I mean, these are all things that conservatives were called domestic terrorists for questioning the vote. And here we have this person who is saying Nevada ballots changed. Oh, were they?
Janice, this is the foundation of our country right here. You can't get any deeper than what we're talking about.
Yes. So his
That's
question
how important it is.
were Nevada ballots changed? Data expert details problems with vote data. A nonpartisan group called the Election Truth Alliance, or ETA, that's like estimated time of arrival, right? Just wrapped up an independent investigation of voting data from Clark County. They found some unusual patterns they say could point to potential vote manipulation. Nathan Taylor, executive director of the Election Truth Alliance, spoke with Roland Martin about the disturbing discovery found in Nevada's Clark County voting data. Now, Robert Beatles, I'm going to forget his name. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. The guy who did all the analysis, all the math, and had big charts and data showing that votes were being flipped, and that in Clark County in this last election in 2024, he found that there were, maybe somebody can text me with who it is I'm talking about. So he found that there were votes that were deleted. Well, this gentleman, Nathan Taylor, has said something similar. So I think that you guys ought to get together and talk to each other, because that's like unanimous that both sides want to have an audit. And this guy wants an audit. And this is an update on audits, because that's what he wants. And you have to listen to this video. I'm not going to play it here, but he talks about voter regularities, and they're demanding transparency, and they're telling all the people to go out there because they think that Trump shouldn't be in, that he's not been elected. Well, they're finding exactly what the conservatives found, that the down ballots and the presidential races are at odds. Basically, that the people who voted on the top of the ticket didn't vote the same on the bottom of the ticket in the Senate races. And again, this is exactly what was found by the conservative side. And now this nonpartisan gentleman has found the same thing. I just think they should all talk to each other, and they're going to go to the Secretary of States, to their ROVs, to their county clerks, and they're going to say, and they're located in Las Vegas, and they're going to say, we need to have an audit. And what they want is to have the paper ballots, which we don't actually have paper ballots, but we have tapes. They want the tapes to be matched up to what the votes are. Go figure. Isn't that what we've just asked for the last 4 years? That's what we asked for.
They never were listening.
Well, they are listening now, and these folks are now, we've got two sides that want it. I think that makes up a whole, and I think that maybe our ROVs, register our voters, our county clerks, all these folks should be listening. What do you think?
Yes.
I agree. They should all be listening. So that's what I have for you on audits. Go to electiontruthalliance.org.
I have an extension of just what
Okay,
you
go
were
right
saying.
ahead. Sure.
And I haven't
Ed
used,
Solomon, that's the guy's name. Ed Solomon. Sorry, now I remembered
haven't
it.
used this as one of the books that, review that we do, but it's a book I'm reading right now. And I really came to it by accident. I was in Barnes and Nobles and looking down through the rack, and this was Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard's Confronting the Presidents. And it goes from President 1 to present times. I am up on the think 25th or 26th president. And what you're talking about right here, about them not trusting, this is recycled stuff. It's happened many times
Of
in
course.
the past.
Of course.
You know,
It has. But if we're willing to audit every nonprofit, we're willing to audit the companies that are on the stock market, we audit all these things, why would we not want to audit our elections? And I'm just happy to see that someone besides a conservative is asking for an audit. The big A word, and let's
okay,
hope that maybe somebody
can you take a
listens.
stab? Why doesn't the left want it audited?
They do now.
Well, but what, prior to this, why didn't they?
I don't know.
I do, because they benefited by it.
Yeah, but they probably benefited by it this time too,
They might. yeah.
because all the down ballots went to Democrats in Nevada, and that's what he's pointing out is that there was so much. Not all. I'm doing a broad brush here, but the large majority of the Senate race went to the Democrats, and yet we went for a Republican president. So the question is, which is wrong? Is it the
Well,
Senate that's wrong, or is it that the president was wrong? And I don't care. Honestly, I want everybody to know, I'd love to have an audit. I think it would be awesome.
Janice, the more that we delve into this, and this doesn't bode well for me, because I like my naivety.
Of course. You have for 4 years, my friend.
You're exactly right.
You hate it when I talk about all this other stuff.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So what happens to me with this is the fact that I don't trust any of these people, none whatsoever. I see stuff like this, and the first thing that comes to my mind is the bastards are lying. Sorry, but Democratic speaker said that. No, it doesn't. It shattered my image of politics. It is all driven, just like they say, where you stand on a subject depends on where you sit. You don't get the truth. And the news media, oh my gosh, they're the
we
worst
could go
of
on
them
and on
all.
about that.
Yeah, so-
well, and it's just like you talking about that auto pen with Biden. Well, yeah, does it matter if he signed with an auto pen? Maybe not, but it matters if he knew what was
Yes,
being
yeah.
signed and whether he really authorized it. And that's the difference between what you're seeing today with President Trump, like him or not. He knows what he's signing, and with President Biden, you didn't always know for sure that he did know, and that was pretty clear when he would walk out the door, and he wouldn't know which direction to go, and then finally people are now writing books about his cognitive decline, and these are news media, which they obviously knew about.
Which I might add, the news media.
Yeah, they knew about it.
Yeah,
Of
and
course
they
they
hid it from us.
They
because
didn't hide it.
wasn't-
I knew it, didn't you?
Oh, well,
Come
I
on.
suspected it.
Oh,
I
come
mean,
on. We
it
knew.
Again, to go back to old adages, who are you going to believe,
Yeah.
me or your lying eyes?
Yeah.
So
for 1 second, I'm going to come back to voting election because I have one more thing. Do you have something that you want to talk about? Or okay, but
I do, but it won't take long.
okay, but I want to share this tab now that I know I can do this. This is very cool. Check this out. This is NASA's SpaceX Crew 9 reentry and splashdown. And I'm going to turn the volume on this. I don't think anything is going on right now because I think they've already come in and it's already happened. But here's the... Oh, live event starts soon? Come on. This must be ended. Oh, no, they've already done this.
Okay.
Yeah. Here we go. There they
As
are.
we continue to await the recovery of our Dragon spacecraft with
There they are.
Look at that picture right there. There is the advanced technology and almost a rowboat. Is that a dichotomy in terms right
Yes.
there?
Self-following splashdown.
Yep.
We are continuing to
Oh, that's
see,
amazing.
Dragon
Yeah.
is
But
known
there it
as
is. In case you missed it, you can say that you got a clip of it on What's the Story. Because I knew they were splashing down like minutes before we came on air, and I knew we wouldn't be able to do this, but I did have it handy so we could look at the replay, because that's all this is just the replay. But I think it's exciting, and so obviously just go to the NASA site. It's plus.nasa.gov, and you'll be able to check all that out. So there it is. I'll stop
I'm proud
now.
of those guys.
Yeah, it's great
I
that they
really
came
am.
back, and
I
we're
don't-
glad to have them back.
I don't think I want to know why they were
Nah,
stuck up there for 9 months.
we don't want to know. We like being naive about that, right?
I do.
Let's
There's
stay
just,
naive about that.
so many things
I'm not going to let you be naive about elections, though. So I had somebody stop by today, and thank you, Betty, for bringing this to my attention. And she said, "Hey, did you hear about Utah? That they're not going to be doing vote by mail anymore. It's going to be opt-in." Wow, that's pretty cool. So I've got an article here by, pardon me for 1 second while I see it's the Deseret News, and I picked this because they're actually in Utah.
Yeah.
So what will Utah's election compromise mean for vote by mail? And there's a long article on this, and I'm not going to read it all to you, but I thought that you would want to know that HB 300, which is, I guess, different from what passed in the House 3 weeks ago, but like the original version, it would require voters to opt into Utah's previously universal vote by mail. And you know what? If they would do that in Nevada, that would be so much better. Let us opt in. If we want to opt in, then that's fine. But give us the choice. And plus, I still think that we should be voting at the very most couple of days, not weeks and weeks and weeks.
JFK's famous slogan is not what the government can do for you, it's what you can do for the government.
For the country, yeah.
Well, this basically...
It's not government, it's country.
Yes. This basically is what we're talking about. If you can't invest in voting just the minimum, I don't know if you deserve to vote.
Yeah, well, I watched a video. A gal from South Carolina posted a video that she interviewed a couple of people from Costa Rica and I'm trying to remember, Costa Rica and Argentina. And in that video, if you go to my Telegram and go to What's the Story, you'll be able to look at this video. But it was very interesting. Two individuals, they're just, voters, and they were relating how voting is done in their country. And they do it all on one day. In Costa Rica, it's on Sunday, so everybody's off. In Costa Rica, I guess everybody's off because that was the implication anyway.
Yeah.
And so they all vote, and they have to vote in, I think it's Argentina, they have to vote. They hunt you down if you don't vote. But they don't have to fill it out. So you have to attend, and you have to actually, put in a ballot, but you can leave it blank.
Well,
So although you have to vote, you don't have to fill in the blanks. How's
I
that?
don't want to force people to vote, and the reason being very, very simple. They're probably not very knowledgeable of what is going on for that particular time period.
Hey, you're
So-
going to hear it first on What's the Story. Guess what, folks? Hang on a second. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. Previously classified files related to JFK assassination have been released.
Oh. I
Just a
read
few
some of
minutes
that.
ago.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago, they posted this story, 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. Previously classified documents related to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy were released Tuesday following an order by President Donald Trump shortly after he took the office. The documents were posted on the website of the U.S. National Archives and Records Administration. So collection of over 6 million pages of records, photographs, motion pictures, sound recordings, and artifacts related to the assassination have previously been released. Trump told reporters Monday His administration will be releasing 80,000 files, though it's not clear how many of those are among the millions of pages of records that have already been made public. So we don't know if this is new. He says, President Trump says you've got a lot of reading to do, and researchers have estimated 3,000 records or so hadn't been released, either in whole or in part. And
Yes,
last month,
this is-
hang on, the FBI said it had discovered about 2,400 new records related to the assassination. Ew.
This is tailor-made for you
the
because it
the-
goes
the
into
conspiracy theory.
Jack Ruby.
Yes.
And I didn't remember any of that, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yep.
There's definitely a conspiracy behind that.
Oh, there's so much conspiracy. Well, even as a kid, because I was alive when this happened, but I was young. And even as a kid, I thought it was really, first of all, we're watching this, they're putting it on TV. And then like they had one guy that did it, and then this guy kills that guy, and then that guy kills, then somebody else kills that guy. I was like, wow, I was a mystery reader. I'm thinking, man, this is like a book.
Not only
Right?
that, then they took him to court and they convicted him and they sentenced him to death.
Yeah.
But they didn't get to execute him. He died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Or an embolism.
Yeah, so you were
actually.
talking about Jack Ruby, who fatally shot Oswald, who was accused of killing President Kennedy. And this was like in the hallway during the jail transfer.
Oh,
I mean, that was amazing.
I'm
that
sure
was just
there's
amazing.
something in this about
want
the
us to
grassy
donate.
knoll too.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So
and
anyway,
you know what the
lots of
bottom line
advertising
is?
here.
Is that you will see adages all the time about, hey, let's look forward, let's not look back. Does this really matter if
Yes.
we get to the bottom of it?
Yes.
We don't trust the government as it is now.
Right. And
So,
it matters.
I'm guessing that they lied about it. Let's
But it
move
matters
on.
if we know.
Yeah.
It matters. It matters to your kids, to your grandkids, maybe your great grandkids if you have any.
Hey, I love this country. That's what makes me so angry about it, is because I can no longer trust the politicians are there. And the more I read this O'Reilly book, I'm finding out that over the course of all of these presidents, hey, we had good ones and we had very, very poor ones. But the thing that really amazed me, all of this stuff is just recycling. You'll see a guy making, just like you said, an investigation. Well, that happened back then and we didn't get anything from it. So.
I guess it's all about perspective because it matters to me. It matters to me. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I just soon move on. But do you trust the government?
no.
Okay. So this is verifying what you feel.
Well, I don't know if it's
Janice,
verifying it.
Isn't that terrible that we're sitting here on the radio telling people how we don't trust our government?
Yeah, it
That
is.
is terrible in itself.
Yes. So my daughter will probably be upset with me for this, but I want to share that she and many others right now are doing a walk-in to protect our students and families at the Nevada State Legislature today. I believe this was promoted by, the Nevada State Education Association. So they're there right now. It's 4:37, and I asked her if she was going to stream something. She did not indicate that she was. So there you go. And like I say, both my kids will be mad at me for putting this up here. But oh well, there it is. I'll stop
I have
sharing now.
something that kind of goes right along with that. This is new, but it just shows you what our illustrious media does. The headline is "The Growing Legend of the Missing Oval Office Ivy."
The Oval Office Ivy? Okie dokie. Is this you can't make this one up?
Absolutely.
I was hoping you had
Absolutely
something.
It is. And the thing that amazes me, most of the articles that I pluck out are a 3 or 4 minute read. This is a 7-minute read.
Oh my.
Exactly. What this is behind them in the Oval Office, there is the fireplace on the mantel. There's a ivy.
Yeah, that
And
makes
this is
sense.
how each president treated that ivy. Well, guess what? not there anymore. Oh, I didn't want to spoil you people if you wanted to invest 7 minutes in it and looking for another reason to hate Trump.
And why is it gone? Do we know why it's gone?
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Oh, so he just got rid of it. Was it real or was it fake
No,
ivy?
it was real.
Oh,
And they would water
I
it.
kinda like ivy.
And some presidents would, buff the leaves. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's a seven. How do you make a 7-minute lead out of ivy on the mantle?
wow. That's something. That's something. So President Trump didn't like it, so it's gone. And how long has it been there?
50 years.
Oh my! Oh, he's
Well,
breaking
here,
tradition.
Just a second. It is taken.
Did he think maybe there were bugs in there? Let me put my conspiracy hat on. Did he
Okay.
think there were bugs in there?
Yeah. It has
Somebody was
taken
bugging the ivy?
several shapes over the years. Under Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter, the ivy was unkept and bushy.
Oh,
It was pruned back during the presidencies of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. It featured prominently in Bill Clinton's swaggish presidential orbit. It was split into 3 neat shrubs by George W. Bush. It became a wide, spiraling hedge for Barack Obama, who swapped it out temporarily for a different variety of ivy. It was cut down to 2 smaller plants for Donald Trump's first term. Joe Biden, the ivy crept wider and longer. I could go on, but you get the point. There's a history. And, now the news media, they probably feel real good we're informed.
well, as we say, you can't make this stuff up, and they did a good job
But you know what?
of
There's
not
7
making
minutes
it
out
up.
of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So let's go back to Utah.
Okay.
So, if this bill is signed into law, because it seems to me that this has gone to the Senate now, although this was March 3rd, so it may have passed by this time, because this is the 18th. So, yeah, it might have already passed. I just pulled up an article that was a little older. If signed into law, the voters would have until January 1st of 2029 to request a mail-in ballot, which can be done when they renew their state ID, register to vote, vote in person, fill out an online form on the lieutenant governor's website, or submit a form at their county clerk's office. And one of the most significant reforms lawmakers included in the bill that instead of relying on county clerks to verify voter signatures, the bill would require voters to write the final 4 digits of their driver's license or an easy-to-obtain state identification card on the return envelope of their ballot. I don't know if I like that. But interestingly, when the guy I told you about that video that I watched from South Carolina, when the guy from Costa Rica was speaking, he said, he's lived in the United States for a short period of time, and he said, you guys don't use ID. Why not? That's crazy. He says, we all have to have ID to vote.
Well,
So that's Costa Rica. And Argentina, I believe she said the same thing. So
when you look at the basic, just try to use any type of credit card. Go
Right.
use your Macy's card. At Macy's, they'll ask for ID.
Sure.
I mean, it's such a basic.
Well, and I know that the Democrats say that it's disenfranchising, but
not. It's
I
an
did
excuse.
research. I was going to write an article, and I did research on all 50 states. Yes, I spent my time looking up all 50 states, and every single one of them has some sort of here, I believe we call it starts with a T, but it's an assistance program for people that have needs, right? If they have some additional needs and they don't have enough money, they can apply for assistance, whether you call it welfare or whatever you might call it. Maybe it's just food stamps, whatever, but there's some sort of specific economic need. They have to have ID in order to get that.
Janice, the
So-
last time I voted, I had to show my ID here in Nevada, in Washoe County.
You're not supposed to.
Well,
Oh, no, you did when you went to, if you are a Republican and you went to the caucus, yes, you would show ID for that. That was different. The general election, there is no voter ID in Nevada.
But they asked for mine.
I'm shocked. Then something else must have happened in your instance because they don't ask for voter ID.
You know
They
what?
just
The
don't.
next time I'm in there, I'm going to take my cell phone and run around and say this again. You're in trouble now, little mister.
Well, no, I'd love it if they'd ask for ID. I have no problem with
I
asking for
don't
voter
either.
ID.
I don't either.
I don't have a problem when they ask me for ID when I use a credit card. I'm glad you're checking to make sure I am who I say I am. I don't know. It just seems odd that and again, the Democrats are always spouting about the fact that, voter ID disenfranchises people who are in need. And yet, but I'm telling you, I researched 50 states. Every single one of them requires some kind of ID to get any kind of assistance. So the people that they're saying are being disenfranchised have already had to get ID. So it's a bad argument, and I can't understand why nobody makes that argument.
You know what we ought to do is have another segment, and it's called "The Dog Chasing Its Tail."
Something like that,
Because
right?
That's exactly what happened.
Oh my goodness. So does Utah need Doge? That's something else. The bill outlines a free process for individuals to obtain a state identification card at a licensed examining station by proving their birth date and lawful presence in the country. So, they get a free a state identification card. So there's no problem with that. The version of the bill updated on Monday would also allow for the final four digits of the voter's social security number to be used as a valid state ID. Well, that my whole life has never been a valid ID as far as your social security card. So I don't know if I agree with that. There will continue to be remote voting option available to those who need it because of a disability, age, extended illness, or long-term absence. And I think as long as there are checks and balances to all those things, I mean, I had a husband who was disabled and he could go in to vote. It was difficult. It was definitely difficult. But he could have done it. If we had to do it, he could have done it. We just had to plan ahead. And, it was a little painstaking,
It's important.
but he cared and he wanted to vote.
Sure.
And so, that mattered. So, and we would have done it. Yeah, of course they make it easy. Yeah, you're going to take advantage of that. Right?
I have.
We have a little ghosty that just opened our door, Doug. Look, the door opened. Ooh, somebody just came in as I was talking about John. Maybe John walked in.
Yeah.
Oh my
it's a
goodness.
conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy. What can I tell you?
Close.
So Doug's going to go over there and close that
Hey, if
door
somebody
because,
gets me.
well, we hope not. We hope not. So that's the story in Utah. They are going to, and again, Betty came in, she said that this was passed, so I don't have proof of that, but she did say that it was. This is from the 3rd of March, so I'm a little dated. Sorry, I didn't get something more current. So, do you have anything else that you want to share before I move on to our writers' information?
No, let's do it.
All right. So, yeah, because we're going to run out of time otherwise. The number of writers and authors in the U.S. between 2011 and 2023. In 2023, there were close to 49,500 writers and authors working in the United States. And that's actually down from previous years, which I thought was interesting. And the richest author in the world, can you guess? You have any idea at all? I wouldn't have guessed.
You have a whole shelf of them out there.
Yeah, well, the richest,
Patterson?
the wealthiest. Actually, you would think that, huh? He was mentioned in this article, but it's J.K. Rowling. She's the
Really?
richest, yeah. Best known for her world famous Harry Potter franchise, which has enjoyed global success in the film adaptations. That makes sense.
Janice, just a second. Wasn't she rejected several times with those stories?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Can you imagine being one of those people that rejected her?
I know. Imagine that. So the box office revenue of all Harry Potter films combined amounts to over 7.7 billion US dollars. And you know, she didn't get that,
Yeah.
but she got probably a pretty good sum. If she was smart, by that time she probably had her good agents and whatever working for her and making her the right kind of
I'll
money.
bet you the first book she had, because she was turned down several times, probably
Could be
didn't,
worth a whole
yeah,
lot.
didn't reap her that
Yeah.
much.
Other wealthy authors, James Patterson ranked as the second highest earning author. So you were close. If you see how many books, I bet we have every one of his books 2 or 3 times over in our shelves. I mean, we have so many James Pattersons. It's ridiculous.
You know what I don't like about, and I've read several James Patterson, is because he's a formula writer.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He just changes the scenario
Yeah,
a little
but
bit.
you know,
it's the same
if you enjoy
format.
the story, you
Yeah.
know, as long as the story's good,
Yeah.
it's okay, right? It's like some of the movies or series that you watch on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it's going to end, but it's the journey that gets you there, right? It's not
That's
about
why,
the story.
that's why I like to, when I put down a book like this O'Reilly book that I'm reading about the presidents, put it down and say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Ah,
You know
hey,
what?
you know what I didn't cover? And oh shoot, we're going to run out of time. Doggone it! I wanted to talk about First Amendment audits. Darn, I'm not going to have time. I promise I'll talk about them next week.
Okay.
Because I think they're really important, and I want to have plenty of time for them. So we will discuss those next week. And do you have a book that you wanted to share for today? Okay.
Sure.
Fire away.
Well, it fits right in to what we were talking about today, which I like. It's called The Journey Called Hope, Today's Immigrant Stories and the American Dream.
Huh?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Huh? And this is August 13th of 24. Now, here's something that I think is a tell. I really do. You know how I like ratings, right?
Yes, you love
How many-
ratings.
you know how many had?
Few?
You got it.
Oh, two.
2.
Oh, I said
That's
few.
it. From August of 24. And I don't
Wow.
understand that. While the American story inspires to be the story of welcome and refuge for all, our history often tells a different story. As wars and raging in Ukraine and the Middle East, creating millions of refugees merely seeking safety, American politics remains so polarized that the government appears deadlocked or unable to act on meaningful solutions of immigration policies. A Journey Called Hope, where author Rick Roos shares the stories of immigrants around the world to America, their success, hopes, challenges, and dreams.
Well, you're going to have to give him a rating.
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to give him a rating
Yes. The
because,
rating
you know,
is-
he
it's-
only has 2.
No, it's a 5.0.
Well, it doesn't matter. Give him a rating anyway. He needs more reviews.
It's what?
He needs more reviews.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And his name is Rick Roos, and the foreword is by Rick Steves. And he
there
had
you go.
two. I don't understand that why. I just can't imagine it only has 2 ratings.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well, I have a book too, and I chose because March 21st is World Poetry Day, and my book is called Musings. And I chose it because it's written by Dottie Kelly, who happens to be a person that got written up in the Carson City Chamber of Commerce Post in, I believe it was 1999-ish. In appreciation to Bill and Dottie Kelly, in the fall of 99, you initiated the idea and raised the money to have and I don't know how to say this, Carillon, installed in the Paul Laxalt building. It's a chime in the Paul Laxalt building in Carson City, Nevada. So they received a little plaque, and I just thought it was a great story. And Dottie came to us with her book. She has passed since, but she came to us with her book, and it's a haiku book to touch your soul. And it's just a sweet book, and if you like haiku, haiku is very simple, and So
fits for us, doesn't it?
yeah,
Simple.
I think it does. And so in honor of March 21st being World Poetry Day, I thought that Dottie's book was a great one to feature. So there you go. So, and we have some books left here. She did leave some with us on consignment, and we still have some. So come by or order them. Give us a call. We'll get you one. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to end it for us for today. That went really fast, and
did.
I'm sorry I didn't get to that auditing of the First Amendment because I think that's important. But we'll do it next week. All right.
Sounds good.
And maybe Ed will be with us. Ed's with his son today, and they were doing some things. So, but we're always happy to have him on.
Well, I just would like to end on a positive note. These 2 hours, Janice and I always talk about how quick they go. The reason they go by so quick is because they're fun to do.
They are. We do have a good time. We hope that you
Absolutely.
enjoy the show when you listen, and hope you'll listen every week. I am going to be making a couple of little changes on my Rumble channel. Maybe I'll let you know. We're going to try and get the network in a way that everybody can see who's going to be on when, because we're going to have other people on. So as that starts to happen, you'll see some changes, but we'll let you know in advance. And we just thank you for listening, and we really do enjoy what we do.
And tell your friends.
Tell your friends. All right. We'll see you again next time.
All right. Bye.